Right. Okay. So here's a couple of slides on self-organization. So we've been talking about this earlier in the week. We talked about the 4 Ps. We talked about being self-organized. We talked about planning your day, getting away from just lists that move over and over and over. So I decided to put this together to talk about what Scrum talks about for self-organization. It's a wee bit more than the 4 Ps, but we'll chat about the 4 Ps based on my experience, and then I'll just to start off, I'll give you a bit of a background into the Scrum principle of being self-organized. So why do we have it, right? So Scrum supports the idea that self-motivated individuals are always looking for more responsibility, and with more responsibility and self-motivation or motivation, people always try and get more things done. The best requirements come from people that are self-motivated, and they decide how they're actually going to do things, which we'll talk about now, right? So in a nutshell, being self-organized, being motivated leads to better requirements and leads to getting delivery done a lot quicker, right? So let's talk about servant leadership then, right? So servant leadership is the leadership role that Scrum supports. It's basically doing whatever needs to be done to support the team to encourage their delivery. It's a wee bit different to old school project management, which would have been command and control. You would have had a PO in the middle, dishing out tasks, assigning things, chasing people up on plans. Servant leadership is different to that in Scrum, because you support self-motivated and self-organisation within individuals. So the servant leadership is basically doing anything that needs to be done to support the Scrum team to meet its goal. Usually within the sprint, anything that needs to be done to release a potentially shippable increment. That's pretty much what servant leadership is. You've probably heard the word servant leadership before and not really connected, or maybe you have connected, but it's literally doing anything that needs to be done to support the Scrum team. So it could be anyone in the Scrum team. It's not only the Scrum Master, it could be the PO, the dev team, or the Scrum Master as well. So that's what servant leadership is. So how does the being self-organised work then, right? So being self-organised doesn't give you a free pass just to do whatever the hell you want. There has to be a bit of structure. Scrum's quite a light framework, but there is a bit of a structure as to where this should happen. Two main places where this should happen is during the breakdown of stories, which are usually the what, breakdown of stories into the how. So they're breaking that down into tasks, and then the second bit is estimation around how long those tasks will take you to do. We do this in two primary places. First of all, we do this in PI planning, where our features come in from our POs and our PO2s. That's the what. The how is how we break those down into stories. That's primarily done by us, the Scrum team. There's no one outside the Scrum team that makes those decisions. There might be a wee bit of a framework as to patterns and everything that we have to use, but the how is being self-organised. That's how we're actually going to do it, breaking that down into stories. So that's the first place where it happens. The second place where it happens is a more granular level at sprint planning. So you now have your stories. Now the next thing is you break those stories into tasks. Right, so that's usually what happens at sprint planning. You take your stories that you have, your shopping list of what you want done or what your PO wants done, you break those down into tasks. That's a developer thing that should be done during sprint planning. The next bit is estimation. So we use Planning Poker. We use it really well actually, but that's being self-organised and using the dev's experience, using their understanding, using their cross-functional skills. You talk about being a T-shaped developer, being good at basically everything, being very, very good at one thing, but having enough skills to be cross-functional around the whole team. So that's the two places where it happens in a good functioning Scrum team. And breaking down stories and breaking down stories into tasks, and then estimation. Why then? Oh, did we talk about why? We talked about why already? Yeah, I think we did. So that's how it happens, right? So the next thing then I'm going to chat to you around is the daily plan. Now, this could be related to your daily stand-up or your daily Scrum as well, but I'm not really going to talk about that too much. I'll talk about that in another video, but now I'm going to talk about the 4 Ps. Really simple, because we've chatted about this. Just move me out of the way a wee bit actually. get out of the way there. The 4Ps, right? So this is part of being self-organized. Whenever people think about self-organized and self-organization, this is probably the first thing that they think of: making lists and getting things done on their lists. But as you've seen before, there's a bit more, a bit more in it about being self-organized. But this is a real fundamental to start. 4Ps then: projects, people, process, and personal. Projects are your work that you're working towards on a daily basis. That'll go in here. Stick them in there. People that you need to talk to in order to get your daily task done. So it could be people within the team. It could be people that you need pull requests approved. It could be people external to the team. It could be people that you need to talk to. I don't know. It's literally just people. Process then. This is the one that most people struggle with, and I'll be honest with you, I've struggled with this one before. Yes, it does support the P's. You could probably put another. You could probably put a T in here for training, actually, because that's really what it's about. About training, about learning, about processes that you should be doing outside your daily project work. So think about individual development plan. Think about agenda for your next one-to-one. Think about compliance training that you should really have done a while ago. Think about things that are going to help you improve. So it could be processes, it could be communication, it could be going on a course about presenting, it could be tidying up your agenda for the next meeting that you put out about something. It's just literally improving. And then personal is pretty much what it is. Personal is literally stuff like ordering vacuum bags for your Hoover because you've ran out of them, getting milk from the shop, I don't know, getting stuff from the vets, things like that. I really like the personal bit of it because some people and a lot of people say that they usually don't have time for their personal and their work plans, and they usually have two and they end up getting lost. So this is literally just one place where that all comes together. Usually, now what's worked well for me is doing this first thing in the morning. I usually do it with a cup of coffee and a ruler and a page and a couple of pens, right? So working from home now, it's a wee bit different because the book's a lot smaller. So I use a ruler for this because the book's smaller and it keeps it neat. Whenever I was back in the office, I just had a bigger book and I just fired it in really quickly. Did it in the morning time, enjoyed a cup of coffee, chatted about the things that I needed to do today. One good thing that really helps actually is looking through your calendar and putting your project work that you have to do, meetings that you have to do, people that you need to chat to before going to those meetings. You'll probably not talk about personal things in your calendar unless you do have them in your calendar. Just stick it down here, right? Keep it simple, put it all in one place, one book. Tick them off as you go along or scribble them out, right? The science behind that is that it releases chemicals within your brain. It's a feel-good chemical. I think it's called dopamine, but that's why you do it. Whenever you get really good at this, you'll be able to do it the evening before you leave, so that you can actually plan for the next day. But I think that's it. I think that's all the slides that I had together about 4Ps, about self-organisation, and about how that relates back to Scrum. So if anyone has any other questions, give me a shout. I decided to put this together because we're not really in the office, and I've probably talked at length about this many times. So here, let's put this to good use, right? So actually watch it. If there's any more information that you want of it, give me a shout because I could talk all day about this. Cheers, guys.